I think that the Bills losing this game was a good thing. Welcome to the Fantasy Flow. This is episode 23, Andy. We just experienced week 14. We're going to talk about it, break it down. We're going to preview week 15. Thank you so much for joining us. If you're watching on YouTube, we love it. Please, if you could, just hit the like button, leave a comment, just free, easy ways to support the show. We absolutely love that. If you're listening on your podcast, 5-star review, anything like that is just super helpful, especially with us still just a pretty new channel just getting started. We really appreciate that. Andy, we're in December. Everyone's got their Christmas lights up. Especially here in the state of Washington, Seahawks on a 4-game win streak. Can't remember the last time I could say that. We're all feeling the vibes. We're 'tis the season, baby. Vibes are high.
Yep. Vibes are high, man. How can you get upset with 4 wins in a row, staying atop the division? Man, now we got 2 really tough home games at home, so looking forward to the future for sure.
Yeah, man. We started off the season 3-0. It was a little pitchy in the middle, okay, but we worked it out, and now we're riding a 4-game win streak. And I mean, the level of competition, we beat the 49ers, which at the time looked phenomenal. They've lost a lot since then. Bounced back this week. We'll talk about it. And then we beat the Cardinals twice, the Jets once, and now the schedule gets tough. Like you said, back-to-back home games, but they're back-to-back home games against the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football, and then we host the Minnesota Vikings after that. So,
oof.
I like where the Seahawks are at, but yeah, we're really going to find out what this team's made of. Are we playoff contenders, or are we Super Bowl contenders, or are we just pretenders? Like I love what we saw from that defense. Let's start the conversation there. This is multiple games in a row where the defense has just continued to look like a top, 5 defense in the league. I just absolutely loved it. They got, I think 2 interceptions off of Kyler Murray. One of them set up the offense with a super short field. They punched it in. Before I flip it to you, the offense finally showed up. This is the first time in many a moon that the Seahawks offense has scored more than 20 points. And yes, I do give them credit for punching in that touchdown with that short field, because Seahawks offense hasn't always been doing that. So, yeah, I absolutely give them credit for that. What was the final score of that game? We scored 30, right? Yeah, 30-18 was the final. Andy, what were your thoughts from the game?
Two things really stood out to me. Was on the offensive side was the running back room and just the overall offensive play calling. Seems like Ryan Grubb has started to get a little bit more comfortable. The offense has kind of figured out what his goals are and what the rhythm could be. And Geno just taking control. I think that's kind of one big thing there, lumping all that together. And then the other side of the ball, just the defense continually to be the front runner of our team. And Mike McDonald, I mean, you gotta appreciate what we have right now with him. He's probably the best first year coach, in the whole league right now. So
yeah, that's pretty easy to say at this point.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So, and the one last thing I'll say is the running back room. It just doesn't make any sense to me. When we just have Ken Walker, he turns into this machine. When we just have Charbonnet, he turns into a machine. When we have both machines fully healthy on the field, they're like, should you go this one? No, maybe I'll go. They just like butt heads or something to the point where nothing happens, and it's like, gosh dang it, like let's just do this. Let's just have one running back. I don't care which one, but let's just have one guy and just let him go full force because that was so fun to watch. He was just getting everything.
Yeah, man. The only thing that I could think of is like when a running back is getting the full allotment of carries, they kind of develop a rhythm, and they're starting to see the field a little better as opposed to coming in and coming out. But honestly, Zach Charbonnet looked great from the very first drive. It's not like he had to get into a rhythm and wear the defense down or anything like that. Like he was great from the jump. In my notes, I just wrote down Zach Charbonnet apology, just because I talked some crap about him last week.
Yeah.
He was very inefficient around the goal line, and he misses a lot of like pass protection stuff. It just seems like it doesn't make sense whenever we put him on the field. But yeah, you're absolutely right. In this game, we made him the workhorse running back, and it worked. And we've seen the Seahawks play great complementary football for the first time in a long time. We'll see what happens on Sunday night against the Packers.
Yeah, Sunday Night Football. Shout out to my buddy Mark for going to that game, and then I'm actually going to the Minnesota game with a couple friends. So, looking forward to it.
Man, that's awesome. Yeah, one of our listeners in our listener league is also going to be at that game with some friends. So.
Oh, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. All right, let's get into our reactions from the week, and let's switch it up a little bit. Let's start in the AFC. Andy, how about you go first?
Ooh, I'm going to talk dirty about some Chiefs football here. So, remember, I think it was 2 years ago, the Kirk Cousins led Minnesota Vikings.
Yes. Okay. Yes, I had the exact same thought. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so they go, what? I think they went 11-0 or something like that in one-score games, or 11-1. And the Chiefs, so they do that, and then they play the Giants at home. They win the division. They play the Giants at home in the first round of the playoffs, and they lose. And I even bet that game, and I got it right because I looked at the Vikings and I said, there is no way when it comes down to crunch time that they're going to be able to win a game because they have just been getting so lucky all year long. That, my friend, is this year for the Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to be one and done in the playoffs.
Whew, I love it. Andy, I absolutely love that. I had the same thought when they were talking about all these statistics, and it's just like, oh man, the Chiefs can't keep getting away with this. Because for those of you who don't know, the Chiefs won again by 2 points on a last-second field goal. This has happened like 5 times this year, and this one was with the fourth-string field goal kicker, who on a chip shot field goal, the ball hits the upright and goes in.
Doinks it in.
He doinks it in for the win for the Kansas City Chiefs. It is incredible, and it's crazy. And like everyone, who says it's scripted or whatever is like, you can't script that kick. Like,
No, you can't.
You can script a lot of things, and I'm not saying things are scripted, but I'm just saying like there is no way that they told the kicker, "Hey, go ahead and just like doink it off of the thing," like, and then but still make it, like, because that would be the optimal. It's like, no, I don't know how this happens, and I hate that it's happening. They're becoming like, okay. I was hearing another podcast that I love to listen to. They're talking about dynasties, and some people like dynasties, some people don't like dynasties. You think about the Lakers, or in football, we would talk about the Patriots as a dynasty. I hate dynasties, just in general. I think it's boring. It's never been my team, so yeah, I'm just annoyed.
Right.
When a team is at the top consistently. And the Chiefs have been kind of that exception where, man, like middle America, small market team, everyone loves Andy Reid. Patrick Mahomes is a good guy by all accounts. Pretty rare when you're like the greatest to still be like a pretty good guy,
Right.
Family guy. It's just it's hard to hate him, but like I'm starting to. Like this is ridiculous that they just can't lose even though they're playing terrible football. It's terrible to watch. It's terrible in the box score. And yeah, I think they're frauds, and I definitely thought about that season with the Vikings and how they were undefeated in these one score games. And at the time, unlike you, I thought, well, we should give them credit. Like, that's good coaching, right? Like, to win all
Mm,
these close games, that's credit to game management, to the quarterback, especially to the coach. Um, but then they got bounced in the first round of the playoffs. And it was like everyone who doubted them was right. And now we're looking at this with the Chiefs, and they're probably going to get a first round bye. But yeah, like you
yeah.
said, when their first playoff opponent is going to be a very strong opponent, and I don't know that it's going to translate. I really don't think it will. Um, Similar vein, I want to talk about the Bills in the Bills game against the Rams.
Okay.
That game was insane. I think it's the highest scoring game of the whole season. The Bills lost score of 42-44 in LA against the LA Rams. We were both feeling really confident about the Bills
Hmm.
against the Rams. We did not see this coming at all. This was just a total offensive. I don't even have the words. What was this?
Masterpiece.
Oh my gosh, I was at a masterpiece on both sides of the ball. The offenses were just doing whatever they wanted, and I'm not super shocked by what the Rams. Um, we've seen that offense perform at that level before. I mean, they have great players: Puka Nacua, Cooper Cup, Matthew Stafford's probably a future Hall of Famer. Like we get it. I think the most surprising thing from that game was the Bills' defense. I didn't think that the Rams or any other team, honestly, could do what they did against the Bills' defense. And here's my reaction from what I saw. I think that the Bills losing this game was a good thing. The Chiefs clearly aren't going to lose. They're just never going to lose for the rest of the regular season. So getting the one seed, that seems out of hand at this point. So besides that, I think it's so much easier to coach after a loss. You have so many more things to point to. This is a great game that exposed their weaknesses on the defensive side of the ball. And I trust that coaching staff to address those areas where they got exposed. And when you really look at this game, like we saw the offense click and it was going so well, so much better than in previous games. The running game, the passing game, Amari Cooper was getting involved. I think he had 95 yards. It
Hmm.
was great. And there was a fluky punt blocked return for a touchdown that the Rams got in this game.
Hmm.
So, I mean, the Bills' offense outscored the Rams' offense. Like that was
Right.
the 7 points in a 2 point game. Obviously, that was the difference in the game. So
Right.
that's something to fix as well. I'm not saying like we just throw that out, but like I am not worried about the Bills, and I'm glad that they have this coachable moment.
Sure. Yeah. That's a good point. It also helps that they lost to an NFC team.
Hmm.
It looks they play the Lions next, so that's also an NFC team. So that's going to be a great game. And then they go Patriots, Jets, Patriots. So I, it's never a good thing to lose, but I hear what you're saying. Is like might as well lose now, especially to an NFC team, and then that way you can regroup and dials back in and get ready for this nice like minus the Lions game, nice little like pillow games, and then
Sure.
get ready
Sure.
for the playoffs, right? So I'm gonna go with my NFC overreaction as Andy Dalton getting in that car accident was the best thing for Bryce Young. That's my overreaction.
Okay. Yeah.
they they have been killing it. I mean, they're just talking about winning in one score games. They've lost like 3 or 4 straight in one score games. I mean,
Well,
they
that's
are in
perfect for a team that's like totally eliminated. Yeah, if
right.
your quarterback is showing promise, your team's coming together, and you're still dropping. You still have your first round pick is just getting higher and higher.
Right.
All your
And
picks.
technically, they're not even eliminated from the playoffs right now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
I don't
saw
think they're
that,
going to
but
do it, but
they're not gonna.
like, I mean, when you think about the NFC South, who would you like to see in that spot right now? My vote is for the Panthers. Like they're fun to watch. They're the most fun team to watch in the NFC South.
Like if I could pick a team that
Yeah.
I wanted to see in the playoffs, yeah.
Yeah. Not for Seahawks competition wise, not for any. Just to out of those four teams, I would pick the Panthers if I could because they actually give a damn. And the other teams are just falling apart right when they shouldn't be. So, props to Carolina. Props to Andy Dalton in that car accident because I think they're gonna have to stick with Bryce Young now.
That's so tough. Yeah, I see what Bryce Young's doing, and he's playing better than he has ever in his career, and he's so young, and he has so much talent, a lot of collegiate success. I just worry though, because a couple weeks ago I compared him to Daniel Jones, a guy who, he put some bad tape on film, then he put some good tape on film, and the franchise didn't know what to do with them, so they just stuck with him longer than they should have because they didn't want to admit that they were so wrong. I just worry that Bryce Young is teasing the Panthers and that this could be the worst thing that ever happened, that they don't take a quarterback in this next draft because Bryce Young strung together a couple of decent games. That is the worry, but that's not to say that that is what's going to happen.
Sure,
He's a young kid who seems like just a great person off the field. He's obviously experienced a ton of adversity, and I definitely commend someone like that for going through all that, coming out the other side, and somehow playing better when given the opportunity. And yeah, to your point, I don't know if he would have even got that opportunity had Darnold not gotten in that car accident.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, speaking of NFC South teams, I want to talk about what happened in that Vikings-Falcons game with our boy Kirk Cousins. Man, last week the Falcons went toe-to-toe with the Chargers. The defense showed up. They got 5 sacks. This week, the defense showed up again, especially in the first half. Darnold was uncomfortable. They weren't really racking up the sacks. Instead, they flushed Darnold out of the pocket like almost half the time he was pressured. And Darnold escaped the pocket, bought time, and found a receiver like 50 yards downfield. And that happened like 6 times in the game. It was a total breakdown of the secondary. And on offense, the Falcons couldn't hang with that at all. And Kirk Cousins looked very bad. Lots of people are calling for Michael Penix to make an appearance. And I don't know. I kind of have 2 takes. I kind of have one for each team. The one that I don't really want to get into is the Falcons side of it. I just think that it might be a good idea to just sit Kirk Cousins for a game or 2 and just see what you have in Michael Penix. And don't phrase it as like a he sucks, we're going to bench him, but just say, hey, Kirk Cousins has been playing through injury and he needs to get right if we want to actually do anything in the playoffs. If I was the Falcons, this is what I would do. I would say Kirk Cousins needs to get healthy. We're going to put Michael Penix out there to rest Kirk Cousins. Not because he sucks, but to rest Kirk Cousins. And then if Penix sucks, okay, put Cousins back in. If Penix does awesome, well, maybe you just let it roll. Maybe you just see what happens, They have kind of a cupcake this week against the Raiders. So, I don't know. I could definitely see that happening. What are your thoughts on that, Andy?
Yeah, that's a good point. I've been pretty much sticking to the notion that they should just stick with Kirk. They can't go to Penix at this point because they're just right there on the cusp of playoffs. You got to stick with the guy that's been holding this team together for the entire season. But as you're saying that, it's kind of making more and more sense. Like, yeah, that's a good way of phrasing it. Like, we might not make the playoffs. We might make the playoffs. either way, we got to find out what this Penix guy can do sooner rather than later. Might as well throw him in, and like you said, if it goes poorly, then you throw Kirk back in, or you just keep Penix in because you've already lost the division. An important stat here to keep in mind is Kirk Cousins hasn't thrown a touchdown pass in 4 games.
That's ridiculous.
Like, if that happened on any other team, he would immediately get benched and get swapped out for the backup. Like, that's terrible.
They're 0-4 in those games too. It's not like they're winning in other ways. Like, they're losing all of these games.
Exactly. And he's getting at least 1 interception, and he's getting at least a couple sacks. Like, these last 2 games, he only got 1 sack each, got sacked 1 time each. But man, I mean, if you look at his recent games right now, if he's not getting sacked, he's getting interceptions. If he's not getting interceptions, he's getting sacked. So either way, that kills a drive, no matter what the outcome of that. And the last 2 games that they won, he threw for 4 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. Like, that's the Kirk we need. So, you bring up an interesting take on that, and I kind of agree.
The other side of it, this is kind of my overreaction, if you will. I think that the NFC North will produce the best wild card team that the league has seen since 2000.
Wow.
Because let's not leave out the other side of this game, okay? The Vikings looked dominant. It was close in the first half, and the second half they just boat raced the Falcons, and it was touchdown after touchdown. I was fortunate enough to start Jordan Addison in one of our leagues, and I was thrilled with his performance after like 2 quarters, and then he got another touchdown in the 3rd quarter, and like another touchdown in the 4th quarter, and I'm like, oh my god. It was insane, and the Vikings defense totally just clamped down, and Sam Darnold looks incredible, does he not?
I have a lot of comments on Sam Darnold and the Vikings as a whole. He looks great. He looks rejuvenated. He looks like he belongs as a starter on an NFL football team. There's been a lot of talk of should they pay him, should they keep him, should they not. Even a couple like a month ago, you were saying, I think you even told it on the podcast of like trade JJ. Like, now that's circulating a lot. I have a lot of different thoughts on Sam Darnold. I wasn't a really big fan, especially that Jacksonville game a couple weeks back, but he has turned it around, and I'm looking at the year 2000 NFL bracket, playoff bracket. So. I haven't seen every single year since 2000, but just that year alone, just out of curiosity, we had Tennessee as the 1 seed, the Colts as the 6, the Giants as the 1 seed in the NFC, the Rams as the 6. Baltimore was a 4 seed, and they made it all the way to the Super Bowl and won against the number 1 seed New York Giants. So that's a tough. You're asking for like the same thing there,
I'm trying, because we don't know what's going to happen. I'm not calling for them to win the Super Bowl. I'm trying not to be results oriented, but just their record is 11-2, and like the Lions' record is 12-1, and so like mathematically speaking, unless one of those teams totally falls off these last 4 weeks, we will see one of the best wildcard teams we've ever seen record-wise. And I think both of those teams are as good as their record. Like, I don't think either one of them is fraudulent. I think they're playing great. The Lions have won 11 in a row. The Vikings have won 6 in a row. And it shows in, like, the point differential. I'm looking at it right now. The Vikings on the season, the Vikings have a plus 99 point differential. They've outscored their opponents by 99 points through the first 14 weeks. To put that into perspective, the Seahawks, they've outscored their opponents by 19 Sorry,
Oh
Seattle,
boy.
but like, we're
Yeah.
we're all thrilled over here. Woo, we're probably going to the playoffs. It's like the Vikings are rolling, and
Yes.
they're gonna have to go on the road in all likelihood.
Right. Right. Yep.
That's
That's
just
true.
crazy to me. That's just crazy to me, and it's crazy that we have a team that good being a wild card.
Yeah. That's that good. Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
Oh, that's scary. I'm not, now that you say all that, I'm nervous for the Seahawks. I'm very nervous.
All right, we're gonna jump into a different segment. It's about that time of year. Everyone's been talking about the MVP. We've been talking about the MVP. I think what was it, 2 weeks ago? We kind of hit the reset button on our preseason predictions for who would win MVP. And I switched it to Lamar Jackson. Andy, you switched it to Josh Allen. Um, Josh Allen's had some great weeks, especially this last week, although his team lost. So that's an interesting wrinkle, right? But Lamar didn't even play. He had a bye week, lazy bum.
Right.
So, of course, everyone's talking about Josh Allen. Saquon Barkley is right there, too. I know, Andy, what was it last week? You said that he would go for over 2,000, and he even
Mm-hmm.
has a shot to break the all-time record. He had 125 rushing yards this last week. So he needs, I think, 95 yards. I crunched the numbers earlier today. He needs to average 95 yards the rest of the way to get to 2,000.
Okay. Okay.
But you saw how casually he got 125 this last week. So
Right.
he's very much in the mix. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I whipped something up for the YouTube audience, and I got 3 MVP candidates, and I just want to see. I want to get Andy. I want to get your take on what's happening here. All right, I just whipped this together. This is going to be a fun little exercise. I have 3 different players. We're calling them Player A, Player B, and Player C, and I'm going to just kind of slowly reveal their resumes through the first 14 weeks of the season. And Andy, I want to kind of get your take on which you think is most deserving of the NFL's MVP award. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
Spoiler alert: these are all quarterbacks.
Okay.
That's why I gave Saquon Barkley his flowers. Okay. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
we're gonna look at some quarterbacks now.
Yep.
All right. So first, we're looking at total yards through 14 weeks. All these players have played the same amount of weeks. Player A has 3,968 total yards. That is passing and rushing combined. Player B has about 500 fewer yards at 3,449. Player C, right around the same as Player B, 3,493 yards. So about 50 more total yards than Player B. Okay?
Okay.
Tracking? Next up is total touchdowns. So this is passing touchdowns and rushing touchdowns combined. Player A, 32 total touchdowns. Player B, 32 total touchdowns. And player C, 29 total touchdowns. Not as much, but still right in there. Any thoughts right now? Do you think you know who these players are? Are you
No.
leaning one way right now?
I'm taking a wild stab that Joe Burrow's in here, but I'm curious. I'm gonna keep on going.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. We have a couple more columns of statistics to throw in there. So just for the podcast audience, player A has 500 more total yards than the other 2 players. Touchdowns, they're about even. Player C is a little bit behind, but it's really close. Next up, we'll look at completion percentage. Player A is sitting at 67% completion. Player B is farther down at 64.1, and player C is actually has the highest completion percentage at 68.4. So yeah, player B not as efficient of a passer. I think it's fair to say. Next stat. We have total turnovers. So these are interceptions through 14 weeks plus lost fumbles through 14 weeks. Player A has
Fair.
7 total turnovers. Player B has 7 total turnovers. Player C has. So I'm gonna pause you here because I think the next stats will give it away a little bit.
Okay.
Which
Okay. Fair
resume
enough.
looks the best for like a quarterback season?
Oh, player A. This player has 500 more yards, is tied for the most total touchdowns, has the second best completion percentage, and is tied for the lowest turnovers out of this group at 7. So, yeah, I'd say player A.
Okay, that seems pretty clear, but let's keep going.
Let's see. Yeah.
All right, so now here we have their team's record. Player A's team, and you can put as much weight as you want into this as you feel
Mhm.
like. That's kind of controversial how much you should or shouldn't consider that. A player A's team is 8-5. Player B's team is 10-3, and player C's team. Oh, geez.
Is 11 and 2.
Yeah. I swapped the 14 and the 11.
Yeah. Yeah,
Oh
is
my
11 and
God.
2.
Okay, they're
Okay.
11 and
So we
2.
got player B with 10 wins, 3 losses. Player C. Okay. All right. Is there any more? Is there any more stats?
Just the reveal of who they are.
Okay. So player C is Josh Allen. Player B is. It can't be Jordan Love. Oh, no. It can't be Russell Wilson. Who else has 10 wins here?
Should I just reveal them? Or...
No. Let me get them all. Oh no, 11. Okay, 11 and 2. Okay, sorry. So the middle is Josh Allen because they're 10 and 3. 11 and 2 is Minnesota. They're the only 11 and 2 team. So this 8-5 one has me stuck. Gosh. Okay, so if it's that many, total yards though, not passing yards, because I was gonna lean towards Geno on player A because of the passing. I know he's like leading the league in
He's near the
passing
top
yard.
in passing, but this is
Yeah,
passing combined with rushing.
yeah. So, Baltimore. I go Baltimore or Denver or
It's Bo. No,
yeah.
it's not Bo Nix.
It's Bo Nix.
That would be
Okay,
crazy.
okay. So then I guess it has to be Lamar, Lamar on the left, Josh Allen in the middle, and Sam Darnold at the very end. Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I almost went Geno. I was like, I saw the 8-5. I was like, is that Geno over there? That's crazy. No, 7 total turnovers. Hell no. There, he has way more than that.
Player C should have 14 total turnovers and 11 wins.
Right.
We'll fix that in post for sure. But anyways, yeah. As this is just an interesting exercise because clearly, if you want to just weigh individual stats, Lamar is probably still ahead. But if it's just player stats, then you need to include Joe Burrow somewhere in here. I eliminated him
Right.
because this team is freaking 5-8, and there's no way a player from a 5-8 team is getting the MVP.
Sure.
There's just
Sure.
no way. So I didn't include him in this, but yeah,
Yeah, it would be interesting to add in Joe Burrow.
that would have been fun. Yeah, but it's just he's not a realistic candidate for the award in my
No.
opinion. But yeah, I threw in Sam Darnold because he is so competitive in all these categories. He has the highest completion percentage. His team has the best record. But man, yeah, I think just what the Lions are doing in their own divisions taking a lot of shine away, and I mean he's doing it to himself too with the turnovers, twice as many turnovers, and
Right.
that's Lamar Jackson. Probably my last point that I want to make: the Lamar 3 interceptions through 14 weeks. That's
Wow.
nuts.
That
Like
is nuts.
we've never seen Lamar play this brand of football. And like he's still Lamar. He's just like this
Mm-hmm.
hyper efficient game managing version of himself, where he's still leading the league in rushing yards from the quarterback position. But he's also not doing the stupid stuff. He's also being like a smart game managing quarterback at times. Record isn't what we'd want. 8-5. That's not ideal. But anyways,
Yeah.
it's an interesting
Yeah.
exercise, and I think it's very much up in the air. And then Saquon Barkley throws a whole nother wrinkle in this too. But Andy, what are your
Exactly.
thoughts from that?
Yeah, it's hard to win the MVP when you don't win your division, and I don't see the Baltimore Ravens winning the North. And it helps that it helps Josh Allen's case that he hasn't won it, and Lamar has already won it twice. So
Mm.
there's also a storyline factor in all of this, and Josh Allen, he's winning with style right now. Even he's losing with style, and that's like a unwritten points towards Josh Allen's case. So, and the team is good. Like it's going to be really tough for Lamar to win the MVP, but I agree with your stats. I mean,
Yeah.
looking at them, reviewing them, not knowing who the players' names were, he was his player was the best statted player so far.
Yeah, I think it's very up in the air, but you make some great points. Josh Allen literally has won his division this year. Like they've
Yes.
clinched
Yeah.
the division title, which those other two players can't say. So that's
Right.
a
Right.
big feather in his cap. And yeah, he's never won it before. Yeah, lots of great reasons to vote for Josh Allen. All right, let's go ahead and move on to our next segment. This is a weekly segment, and we need to eliminate an NFL team from the playoffs. And Andy, I don't know about you, but this week was the hardest week I've ever had
Mm.
in picking a team to eliminate. Because I don't want to eliminate any of the teams. I feel like every single week prior to this, there's been multiple teams that I would be perfectly fine eliminating. And this week, I don't want to eliminate any teams, but we have to. We have to eliminate a team.
Yeah. Yeah, we have to. We eliminated San Francisco last week, correct?
Correct.
Yep. And they did win, but they beat up a pretty battered and bruised Bears team. I think I agree. This was probably the toughest week, but I think I have a pretty clear shot on picking the Arizona Cardinals. They looked at the worst. Miami got the win, which I'm actually really excited about. Maybe it doesn't help this segment so much, but it makes things interesting at the end. And yeah, I would have to say either the Colts or Arizona. That's kind of where I'm leaning. What about you?
Yeah, that's super tough. I'm worried about the Cardinals. I'm worried about eliminating them and then them like winning out or something.
Mm,
But the same could be said for all these other teams. The
true.
Colts are 6-7. They didn't play last week. They had their bye. The Dolphins, they beat the Jets in overtime. Legendary overtime drive by Jonnu Smith, their tight end. He had a total goose egg through the first 4 quarters of football.
Yep.
Did not get a single catch, and in overtime, I think he had like 4 catches for 50 yards and a touchdown, and won the game for him. So it was just absolutely insane. The whole fourth quarter was insane too. But a win's a win, and now the Dolphins are 6-7, and I want to stay in the AFC and kind of talk about this a little bit because it's really interesting. These are the last two teams in that conference that we haven't eliminated yet, the Dolphins and the Colts. And the interesting difference between these two teams, the Dolphins cannot win their division. The Bills have won that division, but the Dolphins are chasing for a wild card spot. Currently, the team in that 7th seed is the Denver Broncos. The Colts are kind of in a different camp. The Colts can still win their division because the Texans aren't doing anything special. They keep dropping games, and the Colts are within striking distance of the Texans. They play them later this year. So the math is just different for those two teams. And week 15, the Dolphins play the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
And the Colts play the Broncos. So
Right.
it's like if the Colts beat the Broncos, obviously the Colts benefit from a win, but the Dolphins also benefit because the
Mm.
team that they're chasing just lost a game, and vice versa, right? If the Dolphins
Right.
beat the
Right.
Texans, well, that helps the Colts. So
Oh wow. Yeah.
it's pretty trippy to think about, and I'm perfectly fine just leaving both of those teams in it and seeing what happens. If they both
Okay.
win, both of their playoff odds go up in this weird way, and then it's going to get really tough for who we eliminate. But
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
let's talk about the NFC. Let's talk about the Cardinals. They lost to the Seahawks. This loss was it was just a resounding loss. I feel like the Seahawks were able to play a complete game against them. It wasn't close.
Right.
They lost to the Vikings by 1 point the week before. This was just an all around worst performance from the Cardinals. They get the Patriots and the Panthers the next two games. So those seem like two wins. So this is a 6 and
Yeah.
7 team that's probably going to become an 8 and 7 team. But then after that, they have to go to LA and play the Rams, and then they host the 49ers. Both of those teams just had a great win. They look like they're back. So
Right.
I I am comfortable eliminating the Cardinals.
Okay. Cool. That was easy.
Okay. They don't have the tiebreaker against the Seahawks. That's a real
No.
bummer.
That's a huge benefit towards us. Yep.
Yeah, they did beat the 49ers and the Rams, but they have to play those two teams again. Arizona Cardinals, sorry.
You gone.
Season's over. We've declared it. All right, let's give an update for our Guillotine Listener League. We only had 5 teams left. The rest of our listeners might not be aware that the top 4 of the 18 that started this league are in the money. The fourth place team makes their money back, and the top 3 get paid out. So this week was critical to not be eliminated, and unfortunately, our bubble boy this year was our good friend Sam. Goes by Samwise, and his team just really let him down. Like it wasn't close. It was just a bad performance, pretty much top to bottom of his roster. Andy, you want to walk us through it?
Yeah. I think it was just one of those weeks where because there's 5 of us, you have to be scoring 140 points plus, and he didn't do that. And I'm going to prop myself up here a little bit. I made a last-minute decision to switch Sam Darnold in instead of Russell Wilson, and talking about that Sam Darnold performance, 5 touchdowns
Yeah.
from the guy. I was just loving it. So it's those weird waiver wire additions right now where you think your team is stacked, you think you have the players to make it, and yet there's always gems just sitting there on the waiver wire that you're just a little bit too nervous to go and reach because you've spent so much time and effort building this team. And yeah, I think it's just a hard lesson to learn that it's okay to drop these star-studded players, these guys that have had 3 or 4 monster weeks. It's okay to let them go just to go get a scrub for 1 week like Zach Charbonnet. Like that would have been a massive start this week. It would have taken some cojones, but it would have worked out, and you would have had to drop a really good player to do it. So it's tough. It's tough to see him go. Thank you for being our bubble boy, Sam, and good luck next year.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. You still have to look at matchups, even when everyone's team is full of studs. Matchups are still so important. And Samwise, he did pick up and start Isaac Guerrero, so props to him. That was a great play, exactly what we're talking about. But yeah, he had other guys in his lineup. Started with Thursday Night Football. Jaden Reed scored 0, and then James Cook and Amon Ra really let him down on Sunday. So
Right. Yep. That you can't be doing zeros pretty much any time, but especially now.
yeah, no, that's just heartbreaking. But
Right.
hopefully we'll have him back next year. Moment of silence for Sam.
The tribe has spoken.
All right.
He
Then,
gone.
then there were four.
There were 4 baby.
The final four.
The final 4.
Give a shout out to the final four. Why not? Obviously, we have my co-host, Andy. You are representing for us, have been for a long time. Feels like years ago that I was knocked out of this thing. We have our good friend Pete, known as Perfect Pete. He is a good friend of the podcast, a good friend of yours, going back how many years? I don't know how many years.
Yeah. 2020, I think. That's when I met him.
Dang, yeah. No, Perfect Pete. He's got a great newsletter that he sends out every week. He's very involved in the league and very funny. Very great follow, Perfect Pete. And then my coworker Garrett. Shout out to Garrett. He had never done a guillotine league before, and he signed up to join this league, and he's killing it. I mean, it's you and him, the highest scoring teams every week, it feels like. So we'll see what transpires there. And I think he has some fab left, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep. I think so too.
Yeah, so he's a strong contender for sure. And then the last but not least, your buddy Andrew, still in.
Yeah. Yeah, I met Andrew a year ago, I guess. We got paired together on a golf. He was a solo, and we needed one more. And it's turned out to be a great friendship. We go to the casino together. We play poker together. We do fantasy football together. We have the same name. We both graduated from Eastern. So,
Dude, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
You just randomly got matched up on a golf course?
Oh, it's been great. Yeah, the minute I found out his name was the same as mine, and we both graduated from Eastern, we hit it off immediately. So
That's hilarious, man. I love that.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
sometimes I feel like it goes either one of total opposite directions when you meet someone with the same name as you. It's like, did we just become best friends, or like I hate you and I don't know why? You know, it's like. Let's go ahead and flip the page to week 15. We got some great games on the schedule, man.
Oh yeah, I'm. Last week I wasn't too hyped about too many games. This week it's the exact opposite. I'm ready for it.
No more buys. Bye weeks are a
No
thing
more
of the
buys.
past. Moving forward, every team is representing. Starting Thursday night football, we get Rams 49ers. And the fact that both of these teams just had monster wins on Sunday really adds some spice to this game. Because the Seahawks are leading the division, but that is only just for now. You know, like anything
Yeah,
can
yep.
happen, especially with those
Yep.
upcoming difficult games that we talked about. Rams 49ers, this feels like a loser goes home kind of game. What do you think about that?
Yeah, the Rams have a little bit of wiggle room, but not much, but definitely for the 49ers. And 49ers are actually favored, which I think is crazy. They are at home. It's a short week, but I don't know. That Rams look a lot better than the 49ers right now. And I'm just glad we get to watch games in our division not involving us on Thursday night.
One of these teams has to lose. That's cool.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yep.
We have four games this weekend between two winning teams. That feels like a lot. That feels like
Yeah.
we got some heat this week.
Yes.
I'm gonna
definitely.
I'm gonna read them off, and maybe you can just kind of zoom in on one or two of them here. We got Bills versus Lions. Holy
Oh, boy.
cow! Steelers versus Eagles. Bucks versus Chargers.
Mm-hmm.
And then Sunday Night Football, the Seattle Seahawks versus the Green Bay Packers.
Let's go. Yeah. So I'll start with the Bills and Lions. So you got two great rushing attacks going at it. That's going to be a blast, I think, to see how the Lions defense handles the Bills, because we've just been like worried about the Lions defense, and with their injuries and they can't compete. Like they're gonna crack, and they haven't. So
Absolutely right.
right, so that's gonna be really fun to see that matchup going on, and Jared Goff at home in the dome. Like that's an easy scenario for him. So I love that matchup coming. Steelers Eagles. I know Bills and Lions is AFC versus NFC. For some reason, this one just doesn't grab me as much. Saquon, of course.
Yeah,
Go
sorry.
for it.
Both teams just have so much room to play with in their own division. It doesn't have the same
Yeah.
weight, I think, for that reason. They can both afford to lose, which is kind of silly, but it's kind of true.
Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't think about it like that. That's probably why I say that. George Pickens being out, like a high level playmaker guy being out. It's like the whole discourse going on with the Eagles. AJ Brown upset because he's not getting the ball as much. It's like, all right, just somebody battle it out.
Yeah. Yeah, they're still winning these games, and I don't know what is like just a media story just because they need a story or what's
Yeah.
actually true in this locker room. Winners of, I think, 25 games straight. Don't fact check that, but they haven't lost in so long. Let's go ahead and pick these three games. I want to focus in on these three games, and I also just wanted to say, because I know the NFL is listening to this show, very frustrated with you, NFL, for putting these three games in the same time window. Over here on the West Coast, they're all in that 1:30 window. Bills, Lions, Steelers, Eagles, Bucks, Chargers. I have to pick one of these? Why?
Right.
Why'd you do this? Are you making us watch one of the other gross games in the morning? Is that how, like, you need to do that to us to get ratings on these other games? I don't get it. I don't get it at all. I'm frustrated. I'm glad that our Seahawks are in prime time. But Andy, I want to pick these three games just for fun.
Okay.
Let's start with Bills Lions.
Sure. Not against the spread, just straight up, right?
Just straight up. Yeah. This isn't the fantasy four-pack or anything like that.
Sure.
It's fun to talk
Yeah.
about.
Straight up, I think Lions. They're at home. It's in the dome. The Bills coming off of a loss. They got the Sonic and Knuckles going. That's where I'm leaning. What about you?
I just think the Bills are better. But I
Okay.
hate how they got exposed by that Rams offense last week. I think the Lions with Jared Goff in that dome, they could pull off something similar. But unless they block a punt and return it for a touchdown, I like the Bills there. But it's close.
Okay.
It's really close.
Okay. Yep. Okay.
Steelers, Eagles. I'm going Eagles. Can't stop, won't stop. I think this win streak continues.
Yeah, no George Pickens. The secondary is really good for Philadelphia. So Pittsburgh is going to have to win on defense and win by running the football. So I don't know how that works. I know the defensive side works, but I don't know about just running the football the entire game for them. So I'm going to go with Eagles there too.
Yeah, Eagles defenses look so good. And I know the Steelers defense has been good all year, but it's like, if those cancel out, it's like, give me the Eagles offense all day.
Exactly.
Last one, Bucks Chargers. This is a very different matchup. These are not teams who are locked into the playoffs. They both desperately need to win. Lots of teams, we talked about them earlier, would just love to see the Chargers lose another game. And the Bucks, they just moved into first place in that terrible NFC South. This is their biggest test for the rest of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Both these teams are going to be super hungry, but man, I just don't know. I wish I knew if Vlad McConkey was playing. That's kind of tough. It's tough to call with such an important player kind of on the fence right now as we record on Tuesday.
Yep, him and Bucky Irving. Bucky Irving only made it not even through the first quarter, or just through the first quarter before his back started giving out. So that was, you could tell Baker was, and just Baker. it's like, what Baker's going to show up? The guy that can sling it all over the field and make crazy plays, or just like fall flat on his face and get sacked a bunch? I think I got to give this one to the Chargers. They're at home. They have a really good front seven. They're going to be pressuring Baker, and if the Bucky isn't there to spell off Rashard White and have that like 1-2 punch, I don't know. I don't think Tampa's going to be able. And Tampa's defense isn't anything spectacular. So I think I'm going to give it to the Chargers. What about you?
Yeah, the Tampa Bay's defense is terrible. I think this game's going to be ugly, and
Oh yeah.
I think I'm going to call my shot here right now on Tuesday night. I think Ladd McConkey comes back, he plays, and he gets 100 yards receiving again, and the Chargers win an ugly one.
Ooh, that's crazy. I like it. I like it.
All
Definitely
right.
going the under on that game.
All right, let's talk some fantasy football here, Andy. Players that I'm going to be flowing into my lineup. I want to start it off with a guy that I just talked about, Justin Herbert against the Bucks. The Bucks are literally the best matchup you could possibly have as a fantasy quarterback. And Justin Herbert gets the Bucks at home, and if Ladd McConkey plays, Justin Herbert is a player that I'm flowing into my lineup everywhere I have him.
Okay. Yeah, some news 2 days ago. Expects to be okay after bruising leg. He had to come out a little bit the last game, but it looks like he'll be good to go. I'm all for it, especially if Ladd's in there.
Yeah, Herbert's fine. It's
Yeah,
Ladd,
he's
it's Ladd I'm worried about, but
sure.
yeah, you got a quarterback for us?
Yeah, I'm going Joe Blow. I'm going Joe Burrow for the Cincinnati Bengals. They're going up against another, like you said, great defense to go up against the Tennessee Titans. They can't. Their defense is okay, but their offense is trash. So Bengals are favored to win this one. Titans only have 3 wins. I feel like this is a nice, easy flow into your lineup with Joe Burrow.
That is an easy flow into your lineup, Andy. Jeez.
Yeah.
Come on. All right.
Hey.
I got a running back for you. His name's Brian Robinson. You might have forgotten about him. He was on his bye week last week, but he's coming back. He's rested. He's healthy, and he is playing in New Orleans, a team that is out of it. It's just a good matchup that should have a positive game script for the Commanders coming off a bye week. We talked about how coming off a bye week doesn't really mean anything. Andy, you did a deep dive a couple weeks ago. Teams coming
Right.
off a bye don't actually have they don't even have a winning record in the league. So it'll be interesting to see what happens this week. But I mean, come on, Commanders Saints. I think it's going to be a good game script, and Austin Eckler is still out. So
Okay.
Brian
Good.
Robinson is a great start in my opinion.
That's good to know. I didn't know the health condition of either of those guys, honestly. So that's good to know.
Yeah, Robinson's good to go.
Cool. I'm going Braylon Allen for the Jets. They are going up against the Jaguars. This is if there's no Breece Hall. It doesn't sound like there is. Him and what was that other guy's name? Some no name. Isaiah Davis. That's what it was. Him and Isaiah were going back and forth, but Braylon is the more talented running back, and he didn't get a touchdown, but he's definitely going to get one this one against the Jags.
Man. So
What?
well, we didn't really compare notes going into this episode like we usually do. For my players that I'm flowing out of my lineup, I just said all the Jets running backs because I don't know who
really?
it's going to be, but I know it's going to be a split because I thought it was going to be all Braylon Allen. And in one of our leagues together, Andy, I started Braylon Allen, and they kept giving the ball to this other guy, this other no name, like you said. So that's really frustrating. There's a total 50-50 split when Breece Hall doesn't play, and if Breece Hall is healthy enough and he's active and he's in the game, I don't want to start Breece Hall because I worry they're mathematically eliminated. So, like, are they really going to give Breece all this work coming off an injury. Definitely not. So maybe I can amend mine just to be helpful to our audience. I can amend mine and say Brees Hall, if he's active, I'm flowing him out. And,
Sure.
feel free to flow in one of those other guys. I agree Braylon Allen's the better player, but it was a 50-50
Right.
split, was it not?
It was. It was. I just think the talent, if Brees Hall is out, Braylon Allen's talent is going to be exposed. It's not going to be exposed. It's going to show off a little bit more,
Yeah.
and especially against the Jaguars. I just see this. Braylon Allen, when it comes to scoring touchdowns, has had these like weird moments, but then it showcases how good of a player he is. I think one of those weird moment showcase plays are going to happen this week. That's what I'm saying.
I like it. Yeah, you're calling your shot, and it's a great matchup. So we'll see.
Right.
Another player I'm flowing into my lineup. I'm going wide receiver here. Juwan Jennings on Thursday Night Football. Hopefully this doesn't age poorly before the episode even comes out, but Jennings has been incredible since Ayuk tore his ACL. Debo has been a no-show. He's just disappointing you every single week, and Juwan Jennings is not. Juwan Jennings had a couple down weeks. One of those weeks, Brock Purdy didn't play, and the other week was the snow globe game in Buffalo, where no one got it done in the receiving game. So it's just when you take that context into account, Juwan Jennings, he's been the guy for the last month, and there's no reason that shouldn't continue against a Rams team that just gave up 40 points to the Bills offense.
Right. I'm with you. I love that pick. That's a nice juicy one. I'm going Adam Thielen with the Panthers.
Okay.
Yeah, not so easy now there,
No,
bud.
yeah, you redeemed yourself for sure.
Right? They're going against the Cowboys. It's in Carolina. Adam Thielen has just been that guy for Bryce Young these last couple, ever since Bryce got back on the field. I see that continuing. It takes a little bit of cojones to put him into there, but I think Thielen has proved himself enough after these last couple weeks to where I'd be comfortable flowing him into my lineup.
I like it. I like the call. We're always rooting for the guy. Anytime you see a 34-year-old just mossing DBs, that's incredible. We all want to see that happen.
Yeah.
So love that pick. Let's go negative. If you flow players in, you got to flow other players out. I already talked about Brees Hall and how I'm nervous about that situation. Andy, how about you give us one?
Sure. I'm just going to do a big group here. I'm going to do the Steelers pass catchers. I'm flowing out of my lineup.
Yeah.
No, George Pickens. Nobody else really stands out. So and the Eagles secondary is just so good. So I'm just staying away from any Steelers pass catchers this week.
Yeah, I think it was last week I talked a lot about the Eagles secondary and their defense and just how great that is. I love that call.
Right.
Player I'm flowing out of my lineup, going quarterback here, Jordan Love against the Seahawks. I got a couple reasons. This isn't just homerism, okay? The Seahawks defense has been on an absolute heater, especially recently. They're a dangerous matchup. The Packers have to go on the road all the way to Seattle, where it is more than likely going to rain. So I just don't really love either of the passing games here. This seems like a big Josh Jacobs game, if I had to guess. And
yep.
I don't know. Yeah, Love's just inconsistent already, and now he's going in against a defense who's hitting its stride in kind of a bad weather situation.
Yeah, you're totally right. I just looked up 81% chance of rain that day. I almost put Jordan Love in as a flow out because I was just right on the line there, and I totally agree. Yeah, I totally agree. It sounds like Romeo Doubs is still in concussion protocol, so that means they have Christian Watson, which is not good at the football, and Jaden Reed that either shows up like a superstar or doesn't show up at all. So I like our chances there.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm gonna go with Cade Otton. Now
what?
you've probably Yeah. You've probably loved it so far with Kate Otten, but this is my dart throw. This is my shot. Taking my shot here with flowing Kate out, going against their nasty Chargers defense. I think Baker's going to be under pressure a lot. I don't know if he's going to be able to even get the ball out. Usually Cade or the running backs are his option in those scenarios. I'm just nervous to start Cade Otten this week, and so much so that I'm actually looking for other options.
Yeah, stuff. His dip in production has perfectly coincided with Mike Evans' return from injury.
Right.
That's just the unfortunate reality. I think Hayden Dotton is a great player, but they just have different priorities when Mike Evans is on the field.
Yeah.
So that's all that is. I really don't hate that pick as much as I do like Kate Otten.
Right.
I'm going to go with another player that I really like, that I think is really talented, but he hasn't been a top 20 wide receiver on the week since week 4. Malik Neighbors.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know what's going on with the Giants. They're starting a different quarterback every week, it seems like. It looks like it's going to be Drew Lock again this week. You don't have to start Malik Neighbors. He is not a must start. If you have any other option, I would probably go to it. They're against the Baltimore Ravens. And the Ravens secondary, yes, they've been kind of a pass funnel. They're so good against the run. Teams just pass on them. And if you have a decent passing attack, you have a lot of success. But the Ravens secondary is getting healthy. We saw a couple of their nice players come back from injury, and I just don't see it. Like I know they're weak against the pass, but is Drew Lock really going to take advantage of that? I don't know.
No,
It's just mine.
no. He started last game 0 for 8 or something like that. I don't know how bad it did get, but it got so bad to a certain point where Tommy DeVito came back out because Drew Lock.
I didn't know
Drew
that.
Lock couldn't complete a pass. Oh yeah. About halfway through the game, sometime in the second half, I'm like, man, when are they going to take Drew Lock out? As he's running to the sideline, and then they show the camera to the huddle, and there's Tommy DeVito. I'm like, oh well, that's when right now.
Let me read you this stat line. I just pulled it up. Drew Lock against the Saints. He threw the ball 49 times.
What?
Yeah, he completed 21 passes out of 49, so that's less than 50%. 0 touchdowns,
Oh my
obviously.
God.
1 interception. That's crazy.
What?
Yeah, and
Wow.
Malik
Oh,
Neighbors, so Drew Lock threw the ball 49 times, and Malik Neighbors caught 5 passes.
Wow, that's terrible. You should have him catching at least a third or a fourth of those balls. Like
I would hope so.
That's really bad.
Maybe next year.
My last guy is going to be Gus Bus for the Chargers. He's the sole guy right now, but does that mean anything?
Yeah.
I don't really think so. I think it's Justin Herbert and the rest of the team, because he even got a touchdown last week and he only got 9 fantasy points. Like, what else did you like? If you didn't have that touchdown, he was scoring under 5 fantasy points for the week. So I'm staying away from the running game with the Chargers, and I'm gonna just, like you said, I'm just gonna let Justin Herbert cook.
Man, yeah. I like Gus Edwards, but it just he looked bad in that game.
Yeah.
That's just really tough. His yards per carry. He led the league in yards per carry the last few years when he was the
Right.
change of pace guy for the Ravens. That's just such a good spot to be the change of pace guy in that Baltimore offense with Lamar at quarterback. He was averaging like 5 yards a carry year after year. And
Right.
that just hasn't translated. Tough to see. Last week I was in a league, one of my fantasy leagues. I started Braylon Allen ahead of Gus Edwards. And they scored the same amount of points, but Braylon Allen never scored a touchdown.
Right. Hence my confidence for him is just
Yeah. No, that makes a ton of sense.
If Gus doesn't score a touchdown, he's not going to get anything for fantasy. So,
All right. Well, there were our fantasy flowing in and flown out players. Hey, just wanted to jump in here real quick to remind you all about our partnership with BETSTAMP. If you're ready to take your sports betting to the next level and you want to support our show, we highly recommend signing up for your next sportsbook through the show's Signup Expert link in the description. This will allow you to take advantage of many new user offers available. And don't forget to bet responsibly by tracking all of your bets and getting yourself the best odds through the BetStamp app. Back to the show! Now we're going to move on to our Fantasy Flow 4-pack of game picks against the spread. And I'm going to start us off with one that I think we both feel very strongly about. It's the Commanders. They're going to need to cover minus 7.5 points against the New Orleans Saints. And I thought we should mention here that on Sunday, the Saints quarterback, Derek Carr, injured his non-throwing hand. I think he broke a bone in that hand, and he's probably not going to play for the rest of the year, is what they announced. So they're going to bring up backup quarterback Jake Haener to try and lead this Saints team against a playoff team in the Washington Commanders. I don't like their side of the ball at all. I think this is going to be a blowout. I think that the Commanders can definitely cover that spread.
Yeah, I totally agree. Why? Now that you say that, why not start Spencer Rattler? Give him some chances. See what you got with the kid. I know he already started at least one game for him, and it didn't go so well. But give him some experience. Like, who is this Haener guy? I don't know. That shocks me to hear that. But I totally agree. I'm gonna go with the Bengals -5 against Tennessee. Bengals are killing it when it comes to offense. And Joe Burrow is a flow in for me. I think this is just, he's third place in passing yards, something like that. Like he's just doing a great job. So I got to give it to the Bengals on this one.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. They're so close in all these freaking games.
Right.
They actually pulled out a W last week, which was good to see for a change.
Right.
But yeah,
right.
Against this opponent, yeah, I like the Bengals.
Yeah. Yep.
My next team, it's tough. It's really tough. But I think they can do it. I like them to pull off the upset, but I'm getting 3.5 points. That makes me feel nice and cozy. I'm taking the Miami Dolphins against the Houston Texans. The Dolphins absolutely need a win in the worst way possible. I didn't like that they needed overtime to beat the Jets, but yeah, I just don't think that the Texans are as good as their record. It's pretty sad to see they just can't live up to the hype. And yes, they're coming off a bye week, but we know that doesn't really hold a lot of weight. I like the Dolphins to at least keep it close.
Yeah. It depends on how well Joe Mixon plays, in my opinion, this game goes. Dolphins are probably going to score 20 points, 21 points. So if Joe Mixon can keep pace with that, I think that's okay. I don't know. I think they have a chance. I think Houston could maybe pull it out. But, yeah, I like getting the points with Miami here, too. I think they're in their stride, and Houston took a week off. Who knows if that's going to be good or bad for them?
That's a good point. Yeah, I like Mixon, being healthy, but yeah, I by no means is this offense. They haven't found any rhythm at all, and I want to pull up Tua Tagovailoa. He hasn't thrown an interception since week 10. So the last 4 weeks, Tua, and I'm doing some quick math off top of my head here. I wasn't really prepared with this, but last 4 weeks, Tua has thrown 11 touchdown passes, 0 interceptions, and he's averaging, it looks like, about 325 passing yards a game.
Wow. And that's the last, how many games you said?
4.
Okay. CJ Stroud's last 4 games, he's thrown 4 touchdowns and 5 interceptions.
Oh, no. Okay.
And he's averaging about 245 yards. My last pick is going to be the Cowboys plus 2.5 against Carolina. I know I was hyping up Carolina. I know I was hyping up Adam Thielen. Carolina's defense is just non-existent, and Cowboys can score points. As weird as they are to watch, if you like it, if you hate it, if if you're happy they're losing, whatever, they can still put up points. They got a great kicker.
Yeah.
I see them winning by 3 or just like barely losing to a game-winning or to like a field goal. It's +2.5 right now. If you could tease it to 3.5, I think that would be a much safer pick for the Cowboys.
That's wild that the Dallas Cowboys are underdogs to the Carolina Panthers.
When would you ever think that that sentence would come out of your mouth?
I don't know.
Probably not for the next 5 years, 6 years.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. All right, so we got Commanders -7.5, Dolphins +3.5, Cowboys +2.5, and
Bengals -5.
Bengals -5. That's what it was. All right,
Yeah.
perfect. Hopefully we can do a little better than last week. We had a little bit of momentum, and then we hit a speed bump last week. So let's finish strong here. Until next time.
Yep. Thanks, everybody.
See ya. Thanks a ton for making it to the end of the episode. You're a real one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. That's a free, easy way to support the show, and it really helps us out. And leave us your comments down below if you're on YouTube, or send in your questions at thefantasyflowpodcast@gmail.com. Until next time.